Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back to Satisfactory. I'm Accent Evolved, and today we're going to follow up on this just massive project, but a project that will still kind of set us up for, I don't know, we'll see, a while at least, you know. And that's getting our 40,000 megawatts of fuel generators online. So, with that out of the way, let's just hop right into this. So you might notice a little bit of action going on right now. That's because I bit the bullet and I connected it all to power. I kind of wanted to see how everything was running. And, you know, I think this is just the most interesting part right here. We got all the fuel canisters kind of running around here. But everything seems to be going okay. Let me make a power pull real quick. Let's see how we're looking. So you'll notice, though, our max consumption way above what we're making, right? That delta is humongous. And so this dark production line is kind of what we're making right now. Yeah, we're getting close. You know, we got 1,000 megawatts-ish right now. And, you know, none of these refineries over here. Well, okay, some of them are working, right? And, yeah, we got the compacted coal coming in. So I'll have to move up that other line. But I wanted to show you guys kind of how the canisters are working out, because this is kind of one of the, I guess, the more elaborate parts of this build. And you can kind of see, you know, the lines look pretty balanced, even though I loaded this all from one line. I loaded it from right here, and what I did is I just made a few super overclocked things, and I just, you know, throw some plastic in it, and it just builds canisters. And they all merge. And, you know, they back up a little bit, but then it all gets balanced over here. So I think this was a really good idea and really a proof of concept, because these belts are all saturated, or they're getting saturated. And I haven't put canisters on any other of the two belts, just this one. And it's distributed them to everywhere. So pretty happy with that, actually. Now, it may look like we have a lot of canisters, and we kind of do, but if we go and look at the water packagers here, something I've been noticing, we're not even full, right? So this can hold a whole stack, and I think a stack is like 200, 100, 200. And you know, you multiply that, we have what, 19, no, 7, 21, 22, right? So I can hold, I don't know, what is that, like 4,400 canisters, and we're making, you know, I don't know, not even that much, right? So plenty of capacity, I think. And I want to leave a little bit of capacity open, right? Like, I don't want it to be that every single water extractor or water packager has maxed out canisters, but even like these ones up here, you know, we're not exactly feeding them faster than they're consuming them. So I think we'll be okay, even with a little bit more canisters in the system, right? And then, you know, of course, that goes up this way. And I love all the movement. Man, this is just exactly what I wanted. This is why this game's so cool. You get all this movement. You know, you got water going up. And then, yeah, distributing like it needs to. Looking all super good. Look at that. Look at that. And then we got the packaged fuel coming out, which looks super sick. And it's going across. And again, same thing here, right? Now, this is, I guess this is stacking up a little bit more. But not much more. And really, I think the limiting factor here, what are those status lights? They're all green for the most part. The limiting factor is going to be these, right? This whole process. Because we're full there. What about this one? You're full there, right? So I think what's really holding us back right now is the compacted coal. So what I'm going to do is kind of a multi-part system. We need to get the fuel generators down, right? And I've been thinking kind of about where to put those. And I think we're just literally going to go out this way. But it's going to be on the same level, right? So I'm literally just going to pull out my handy dandy blueprint. We'll put a blueprint mode, and we'll just kind of slap down a bunch of these. And I'll kind of show you the idea, right? As I'm building all of this. Thank God for my Thank God for my dimensional depots, because this would not be possible. Or it would be possible. It would just be a huge pain in the rear to go and configure this all manually. So, my idea. I'm going to leave about, I don't know, like these 2 tiles of space and put my first fuel generator right here. So, I'm going to power fuel power generator. Okay. So, and I'm going to have, let's see. Yeah, we're going to go back a little bit. So, right about there, right? I'm using the bounding boxes lines and this part of the foundation to line everything up. So I'm going to put that there. And I'm just going to mirror it on the other side. Except we're going to go right there, right? So middle line, those 2 circles right there, same as over here, right? So they're exactly lined up. And I'm just going to do that. And the idea is that we'll put a junction right here in the middle. And then I'll run the stuff, right? And I'm gonna, you know, I had talked, I think in either last episode or the episode before that about, you know, how I'm going to take care of the like miscellaneous extras in the fuel lines. And you know, am I gonna like merge all the turbo fuel at the end? No, I don't think I'm gonna do that. What I'm gonna do is I'm just gonna put however many fuel generators we're gonna need for each line, right? And based on the space constraints, you know, we're going to need probably 2 rows, right? So I'll put another row, like literally, I don't know, like right there. So we'll do that. And then I'll just rotate it again. Come on. Right there. Right? So 4 lines, I guess you can say, of fuel generators for each pipe. So that's going to be, you know, we have what, 360 something in this first pipe. This is the biggest pipe, right? So we have 3667, right? So 366.667 divided by 7.5. So that's 48 and some change, right? So what I think I'm going to do is I'm going to put down 48 fuel generators and just overclock one of them to add in that extra, right? Because if I can avoid odd numbers, that's nice. But because that's the most, these aren't going to need, these ones right here aren't going to need 4 or 48, right? Because these are just 350 divided by 7.5, right? So this one I'll actually do 47 and 1 underclocked, but I don't want to go more than 48, if that makes sense, right? So, yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm just going to start placing these, and we'll just kind of do a quick boop, and you'll see what that all looks like. And oh man, let me tell you how resource intensive this is, because it is. Yeah, so we ended up going about this far. And those of you who have built fuel power plants before, you know what I'm talking about. Like this, it's just a lot. You know, there's like a lot to do, and you got to place each one and put all the pipes down. But, you know, it's going pretty easily. We're doing a Mark II pipe down the middle, and then eventually I'll just connect them. What I think I'm going to do... Where I made the mistake right here is I connected these up to the buffers, right? But you can see, oh yeah, I guess I can show that too. So what I'm doing, right, we're just literally putting a junction, and I'm going to remove that. I'm going to remove that. In fact, I'm going to flush this whole network. I know, precious liquid gold going away, but I just kind of need to do that. Because I want to hook them up to the pipes, but I don't want the fuel generators running, right? I want them to kind of... well, actually, I guess I could. Well, it's whatever. But yeah, so the idea is one line comes out, and you can see I kind of have them spaced in a half foundation. One line just kind of splits off and just goes all the way down to the end, right? So that's kind of cool. I actually recently learned something about fluids in one of the coffee stain live streams. I saw like a clip from it, and the idea is that, and this is not very clear, they don't make this clear when it comes to fluids, right? What will happen is when fluids come all the way down to the end of a pipe and they get to something like this, just like an end, they'll actually kind of bounce back and slosh back down the pipe. So you can see instances, if you look at kind of the pipe volume, you can see it kind of go up and down. And if you're ever wondering like what that is, it's probably the sloshing, right? It goes up and it goes back down. So I don't know if that like matters for anything, right? But you know, if you have really long manifolds like I have, it might come into play until the fluid volume kind of becomes saturated. The pipes become saturated. So just something to think about if you're building stuff. Another way you can do this, right? Again, so I'm using gravity, right? That's the whole point of this setup, right? There's 2 pumps on this whole thing, and they're just at the crude oil, right? So gravity is taking everything down. When you do something like this, where you're feeding a machine lower than the pipe, I think you get less of that sloshing effect because like in this case, the feed pipes and the supply pipe are all on the same level, right? So they're kind of acting, they're on the same, like, they have it, not to, I guess, get into physics, right? But the same amount of potential energy because they're all on the same height. Whereas with this, water automatically wants to flow downhill, or liquids want to flow with gravity, right? So I think doing this makes your machines fill faster, or fill more consistently, I'll say, and you get less sloshing in the pipes. Whereas this, I think I'm going to get some sloshing. But again, I think once the volume is high enough, it shouldn't matter, right? So anyway, I know I'm going on these like random things here. On the subreddit though, actually, on the Satisfactory subreddit, there's a guide on there somewhere. It's like plumbing for fix-it engineers or something. I don't even remember who made it. I just remember reading it at one point. Super, super interesting. Maybe I'll do a video actually on that and kind of just, testing out all the stuff that's in it. If you want to see that, let me know down below. But yeah, so we got a lot more work to do. Let me go and build at least one more line and kind of show you all that, or if not all of them, and we'll kind of go from there. Unfortunately, I'm going to have to remove some of these. Yeah, it's kind of sad. Didn't really want to as much as I could help it, but yeah, these are a lot bigger than I thought they were going to be. So yeah, so let's get everything else built. And oh man, fuel generators aplenty. So we have them all in, and I've even managed to paint them, make it all painted and look nice. But you'll see I have everything not connected because I didn't want to connect this stuff until I had you guys with me, right? So let's see, what else did we do? That's right, we ran the coal, the rest of the compacted coal over here. Now remember, this is way more compacted coal than we'll ever need, right? And yeah, it was kind of interesting. Let me kind of show you the path that we took to get here. So I built this bridge coming out from over there. Bridge going out and around, and it kind of just comes up that pillar and then just follows the ceiling. I don't know. I think it's kind of cool to have it over there. But I've been thinking long and hard, and I still don't quite have an answer yet about what we're going to do with this extra compacted coal, because this is coming from the bottom one, right? The 450 line. So we have this 480 line, and there's a lot of different things we could do. We could keep it as is, compacted coal, somehow make more fuel generators. That's an option, right? We can keep the parts separate, so sulfur and coal, use that for something. Maybe use that for explosives. Maybe use it for, I don't know, sulfur for the sulfuric acid and the coal for something else, right? That's an option. I don't really know how I want to handle this. So for now, it's sitting there, but I'm eventually going to need to figure out what I want to do with that, right? And then a couple other things that I need to do, that I want to do, right? I got rid of our mock-up because, well, I think we understand how to build this, right? I think we're good. Yeah. So there's a couple things I want to do. Number one, all of my geothermals, they're making about a gigawatt, about 1,000 megawatts ish, like depending on their cycle. I want to get those into I don't know, their own circuit, right? So I'm gonna build, and I may end up doing this for the in the future, right? I think I'm gonna build a giant battery bank. I'm gonna have this stuff feed into it. I'm gonna have not that stuff, that's gonna be in its own battery bank, but yeah, have basically backup power, redundant power. I'm going to make a control room. I think I'm going to build a control room right here on this. Build it kind of high so we can see everything. And put some like priority power switches in there. Maybe put this guy like on a middle floor or something. I don't know. There's just options, right? But like I was kind of talking about, if we put the MAM down. Oh, hard drive. Everything good? This is a good one, isn't it? I feel like there's one of these recipes that's really good. Maybe that's it. I don't know. we'll see. But if we go back to, I think it's Caterium. Yeah, getting into this stuff, right? So high-speed connectors, I might just go ahead and, I don't know, hand make a bunch again. Just to get priority power switches, because I want to get all this stuff switched properly. Like have the coal power generator, have this stuff. All this stuff never goes on or off, but have that all on the priority 1 circuit. Have this stuff be priority 2, like the starter factory is priority 3 or something, and then subsequent factories are lower priority, right? So I want to just kind of think about wiring all that up. I don't think we're going to get to that in this episode, because I just this was a lot of work, and I just wanted to kind of show you guys and have you here with me when I finally turn it on, but also kind of talk about the plan for later, right? So let's go ahead and let's connect this stuff up, because I want to see the power flowing, So we'll go here. We'll literally just do that. I think I put the rest down here like a smart person. And over here. Okay. Now, these are on their own circuit too. These aren't even in... we're starting. These aren't even in connected to the world grid yet. Connected to the world power. But look at those lights turn on. Slowly but surely. And here's actually the overclock one, by the way. Oh, that's so loud. Oh man, look at that though. We put this one up to basically 189% to account for that extra 366, that overage that we had. So that's all in right here. And all that does is just change the amount of turbo fuel it brings in, but it produces more power, right? So another way you could do this, if, maybe down the road, if you want to save some space, you just overclock these to the max. And then you can have less fuel generators, right? So that's a way to, those are the options. You can kind of, I guess for power generators and saving space, maybe that's what we'll do actually. Maybe I will change this to, maybe I will overclock all of these, start here and work my way down, and then just make more fuel generators. If they're all maxed out, but man, look at it. See, it's going down. We're getting all the fuel. But if these are all maxed out, then that'll really cut down the amount of space we're using. And I could use the rest of that compacted coal and the overage here, because there's a bunch of overage still. I could use all that to make more fuel generators. More, I don't know. Let me know down in the comments what you think. What should I do with my extra compacted coal? Because I could have just not used this line right here, but I felt like that was so much more work to get that set up than that was, that like I would feel less bad about tearing that apart than I would about all of that up there, So yeah. All right, so I actually wanted to kind of mess around a little bit, maybe start working on this control room so you can kind of see what I'm talking about. So let's pop over there, and yeah, we'll see kind of how that goes. Okay, so I know things don't really look much different, but there's that now. I made that thing. That's kind of where I'm gonna put the control room. And yeah, so I've done a couple other things too. It doesn't really look like it, but if you kind of look over here, you'll notice that I've got an extractor or a miner right there. If you look over here, there's a miner. So one of the other things that I've been trying to consider, right? So if I were to make a new checklist of things that need to get done, this stuff is done. We're good on that, right? So now there's a couple things, right? So one, we want to make our control room for the power plant. Okay, so we have that. Number two, we want to, well, really, I guess what we want to do is fix power delivery infrastructure. So what do I mean by that, right? Well, if we kind of look around, we have these, when we first moved into this area, kind of right over there, I just slapped down these power poles, and they're really not inconveniently placed. They're just like terribly placed, right? They're not aesthetically pleasing. They kind of clip through stuff. I want to make it so that the way we start delivering power back to the main base is just cleaner overall, right? So I got to read all that. So there's like a good example of some miners I put. There's some miners up there that I put, right? And that'll kind of go into, I guess, my third point, my third priority, right? Which is, set up Blue Crater Lake for trains. Yes, we want to get trains going. And there is a ton of resources. Oh, you know what I didn't do either? God, I'm realizing this now. The fuel generators are running. I did not hook them up to the World Power Network yet. Here, I'm going to do this all quick and dirty, just so that we can at least have the power in the world. And then I'm just going to like literally... Oh, it pains me to do this, but I have to do it, right? And you can see we're still, this stuff is still feeding, right? So it's popping up there, but now we are drastically outpacing our consumption, right? So this should be enough power to last us quite a while, especially once we have power augmenters on there and everything, right? So anyway, back to trains. There's a lot of resource, like I got to get that one still. I'm playing around with the idea of how I'm going to incorporate trains here, right? And if we look at the map, we've got a couple options, right? So our main base is going to be over in this area, right? There is a cave that goes through here, I think, somehow. I know we noticed that. I don't know where it ends up or where it exits, right? But there's that cave at the bottom level. There is, I believe, right in here. This is like that really steep path. In fact, if you've ever really got contour lines on a map, I doubt most people have, so I'll just kind of explain that, how you can tell elevation changes. When contour lines are very close together like this, that's what these are. These are contour lines, right? They're supposed to mimic the lay of the terrain. When they're very close together, that means you have something very steep, right? And I know just from being in this area, this is a really steep uphill, right? So one option, we use that steep uphill for a train. I know we had talked about it. We don't have to make the train as steep as this hill is, but that would have it coming up like right in here somewhere. I believe that's like right over here. Yeah, kind of like by this lake, right? So right there. This is that steep uphill that I'm talking about. So we could have a train come right up in here. There's a bunch of iron right here. I think there's copper and caterium over here. What I want to do, though, is use all these resources in the main base. Because even though I have the starter factory, I'm going to replicate a lot of the production in the main base. Because we're going to need all that to, we're going to have to set up like double and triple dimensional depots to really like fill our inventory when we start doing these bigger projects. Like even now, I had to take breaks building the fuel generators because I was running out of materials, and I like the idea of making a kind of a big main base, like a mega base, kind of. I don't know what that means to me yet, but some kind of mega base where we're doing a lot of production in there. I think that'd be super cool. But trains, I think, I've never done trains in this game before. I've seen people do them, so I have a pretty good idea how they all work. But laying out your own infrastructure is something I don't have a lot of experience with, right? So, so that's kind of an option, right? We can kind of come up this way, And then I'm trying to figure out what level I want the trains to be at, right? Initially, I thought, well, if I put them down into the crater, then maybe that's the best. But then I started thinking, like, I'm going to have to get them. I mean, I guess elevation changing isn't a huge deal, but then where am I going to go after that, right? If I kind of come in and go down, because I can't remove I can maybe get rid of that stuff, but I can't remove all of these, right? So we're going to be above the terrain to an extent, at least with the stations, right? And the stations are where we're going to have to load and unload things. So I'm wondering if I want to maybe stay at an upper level, like maybe along this grass level, and just kind of cut through that, right? So if we look at the map again, kind of cut into this over here. Yeah, maybe come up this way, because I've toyed with the idea. A lot of people will just do like a massive ring around the world, right? Like a world line. I don't know if I want to go ahead and do that too. That seems like a lot of not wasted. I'm not gonna say the effort's wasted, right? But it's just a lot, right? So I don't know. We still have to see exactly how to do it. But for now, I'm kind of toying with the idea of having train stations on this level, with a loop back to kind of the main base, right? So after this, now that we have this up, right, I still want to flesh this out more, right? This area needs to kind of be quote unquote finalized, but we need to start looking forward too, right? Because we got some phase 3 space elevator parts. Those they're gonna, like, we need to make them, but it's not gonna be anything crazy. But then once we get through phase 3 and we're into tier, I think 7 and 8 is next, then we're really gonna start building some stuff. Like once we start getting into aluminum, and I know there's a bunch of aluminum, like bauxite that way, I think. Once we start getting into that kind of production, like we're gonna be building some factories, right? And I kind of want to, now that I have the power, right, and we can really move resources back to the main base, I want to start kind of building out the main base and the train infrastructure and all that. So there's just a lot. There's a lot still to do, but it's actually super exciting. I'm like super excited for it. So if you're excited about it too, let me know down below in the comments. Let me know by subscribing. That's kind of the best way to let me know, right? So anyway, guys, I'm kind of rambling at this point. So thank you all so much. I hope you're enjoying the series, and we'll see you in the next one.